I'm going to try and keep this video a little bit shorter just so you don't have to listen to me talk for any unnecessary amounts of time. So two things I want to cover in this video. The first is the smart drug, shall we call it, Modafinil. And the second would be the Delta 8 phenomenon within the cannabis world. As I had personal experience with both of these topics over the past week or two. Alright, so starting with Modafinil. So Modafinil is a prescription medication that's been around for a while now. I remember, but I don't really remember trying it like 10, 15 years ago, meaning I remember having tried it, but I don't remember anything about what it did to me. But it's become kind of popular in the past couple of years as, like, quote-unquote smart drugs have become in vogue with normal society, the highly productive society, and Modafinil's also gained some fame in the bodybuilding and that niche. So I was in a position where it was easy for me to get a couple grams of Modafinil and try it out. And see how it worked. It's not anything hardcore or anything. It's just I don't actually know what the drug is. So I'm making this video a bit prematurely, and then I'm not going to really give you any type of scientific definition for it, but just Google search it. It's a drug, I think, originally given for narcolepsy, so to stop people from falling asleep, people with narcolepsy. But it's become like a smart drug in that it helps people stay up and stay focused and whatnot, like a poor man's Adderall, but not really. But you know what I mean. As something with benefits, like similar benefits to your classical stimulants without the major setbacks. So Modafinil, I was going to be on a bus ride for a couple hours, and I took my Modafinil the first time that I got it, which would have been about 2 weeks ago. I took it at the 200 milligram level about an hour before I got on my bus. And I remember I was watching a physics lecture, and yeah, I mean, it was, it wasn't like it wasn't like that Adderall focus, but it was, I mean, it was focused and engaged, and it excited me in the way that those nerdy topics get me all worked up. And then I remember, like, as I was walking to the bus station, I was on my phone trying to make a decision on Airbnb as to where I was going to stay that night when I went to Cleveland. And it was fascinating. Like, I was really engaged with the process of, like, looking at all of the possible places I could stay on Airbnb and, like, making a mental pros and cons list of everything. It was a little bit more excited than I normally would have been to select a place on Airbnb. And then I remember waiting at the Greyhound station for the bus to come, and I ended up taking another 200 milligrams, which I don't really necessarily think was a very wise or mature decision, but ultimately it was a spur-of-the-moment decision because I wasn't really feeling anything, and it had been a while since I dosed. Okay, so I don't really think this drug does anything for me because I don't have problems staying awake. I don't have problems staying focused. Like, I joke that I have anti-ADHD disorder. Like, I can read a book cover to cover. I'm always able to focus on stuff. And so, like, the benefit, yeah, like, it does keep you up. Obviously, over the coming days, I had major sleep issues because of the Modafinil. That first night, these doses I just described, I took them at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I was still wide awake, at like 3, 4, 5 a.m. I got like an hour and a half of sleep the first night after the Modafinil. Side effects. The side effects on this hit me hard, actually, and it sucked. It gave me, even at the 400 milligram dose, it gave me like weird, like bad side effects from like amphetamines. Like, it made me want to grind my teeth a little bit. It just sent that weird mouth sensations and stuff. And it just made my heart beat a little bit. Like, I think, like, being kind of confined to this tiny little seat on a Greyhound bus that was packed full kind of, like, got me a little bit nervous and got my heart beating a little bit, which was amplified by the Modafinil's action. And then the weirdest and the worst side effect for me was, and I haven't researched to see if this like is a common thing or not, but the modafinil acted essentially as a diuretic effect. Like it made me start to urinate like a madman, to the point where like the woman I was with that night, she was asking me like, "What the heck is wrong with you?" Like going to the bathroom every 15 minutes, and then eventually like I'm looking at myself in the bathroom mirror, being like, "What the heck is wrong with you?" Like it like literally like emptied my bladder as if I had taken an actual diuretic, to the point where like the next morning, like I have that like super 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 dark urine, like as a result of being dehydrated. So like I don't, it was just, so like that was bad. And it was almost like some of these side effects were like it's almost like taking modafinil. It was like taking a pill that just puts you like, 'cause when you take like something like Adderall or Ritalin or even crystal meth, like you go up for a little bit, and there's the dopamine rush, and there's the intense stage, and then it starts to level off where the dopamine effects aren't as pronounced, if at all, and you're kind of just left in that weird jittery, not very good state, where you're still like grinding your teeth and you're still like heart's pounding and stuff, but it's not like it's not any more feel good or anything. It's almost like the modafinil at like the 400 milligram dose puts you directly into that like that after state for a classical stimulant. And why, and like so, but and you're like, well, yeah, why would anyone want to do that to themselves? So no. And I kept taking it for a couple days after this, and it didn't really, there wasn't like any type of positive effect as a result of it building up in my system or whatever. This one, I'm going forward, I'm not going to do it anymore. And then the second thing, okay, so this Delta 8 phenomenon. This is a product that, at least in like Ohio, I see being sold at head shops. I see it being sold at gas stations. I don't know the science of it. I've never been one of these people who knows the science of cannabis and THC and all that stuff. I know the very basics, but I've never been like a marijuana connoisseur, so like I've never bothered to like really deep dive into all of that science. So I thought, my first impression was this Delta 8 stuff was like some type of CBD. And I think CBD is overrated in a lot of senses. And in fact, like every single product I've ever taken that's been a CBD product has never done anything for me at all. So it may work for people who are more predisposed to stuff that it's designed to treat, pain or whatever. But CBD's never worked on me at all. So I thought Delta 8 was just some new type of CBD thing, which actually isn't true. And because I always assumed that like gummies and stuff like that, because Delta 8 is sold as a gummy, or that's one of the ways it's sold. I always thought that stuff was like relegated to the whole like you need a medical marijuana card and go to the marijuana store and then you can get your gummies or whatever. I thought it was like, I thought that stuff, none of that stuff was like over the counter. But I guess this Delta 8 stuff is like cut from that kind of cloth, in that like it's a bona fide THC gummy or something like that. So I tried these Delta 8 gummies because the woman I was with, same woman as in the modafinil story, had them and offered them. And okay, so here's what I can say about them. They definitely work. Like, no question about it, like they work. They're a legal high that works. But it was weird. Like, I definitely got like that weird feeling of like when you use like some type of THC, or you use THC, it's like suddenly like you're able to see yourself in the second and third person, and like sometimes that's a good thing because you can go into the experience wanting to bring that about so that you can try and work towards self-improvement by way of examining yourself from the second or third person. But sometimes you're just like, I don't really want to have to deal with this right now. It's annoying because it adds like some type of stress and self-neurotic feelings, kind of when the second or third person is forced upon you. And yeah, this did that. It's just like weed does it. And it was worse because I've always found that when using some type of marijuana product after a long break, the paranoia is much worse, and it's like you have to pace the paranoia out by doing it every day for a couple of days. And the other thing about the Delta 8 that I noticed was that it had that feel of weed, that characteristic feel of weed, but it didn't have the sensual enhancements, as in, like, it didn't stimulate my appetite, it didn't make physical touch any better, it didn't make music or art sound any better. So it was lacking in that level. Granted, I don't know what happens when you take 2 or 3 times a week of gummies. Another thing that I noticed was that it had it had like a weird, like, psychedelic feel, as in, like, that, that weird, nervous, uncertain energy that comes about when, like, psychedelic is just starting to kick in. So it was like a little bit of that, a little bit of, like, again, the second and third person thing. But it wasn't bad. It also made me really, really sleepy, like really sleepy, to the point where it was, like, debilitating against my plans. So yeah, that's basically that. Let me know if you guys have tried either one of those things in the comments.